Good Sunday evening to our followers online. This is Daniel Crawley with a weather update, talking about what's going on right now, what we're expecting for the upcoming week, and big changes are coming. But just a recap of what we've had this past weekend. What a great last couple days. Temperatures were in the low to mid 70s for your Saturday across the region. Today's highs were a little bit cooler due to some increased cloud coverage, but still around 70 degrees. Not bad at all for this time of year. And it was a great weekend to get out and do things. But big changes are coming, and it's going to be the start of what looks to be a pretty active week. We see a couple different time frames that we could see some showers, maybe even some thunderstorms impact the region. And I think once we get into the midweek time frame, we're going to start looking at the potential of maybe some flash flooding, because I think what might happen is we'll have some areas, we're not sure exactly where yet this is going to set up, but some areas could pick up some repetitive rainfall. And when you start getting into this time of the year and you get higher moisture levels and you start getting repetitive bouts of rainfall, it can add up in a pretty good hurry. So we're going to be on the lookout for that. And that's one reason why we're doing the video here. We want to show you some things that have our interest as far as the weather in the next few days. But again, a nice weekend, but things are really starting to change as early as late tonight into to your Monday. Just looking at what's going on aloft, there's a dying out area of upper low pressure that's moving across Texas at this time. It's slowly moving eastward, and what that is doing is backing the flow out of the southwest across most of the southeast U.S. Areas along the Gulf Coast right now are picking up quite a bit of rain. That's kind of on the leading edge of all that moisture, and it will begin to start moving north as we head into tomorrow. And a good amount of moisture and precipitable water values will be in our region, probably the most that we've had so far here in the early spring. And matter of fact, just looking at some of the computer model data, we could have the kind of moisture content heading into late tomorrow and Tuesday that you would be more likely to see in May or June. It's a little early for that, but the models are showing it, and we feel like there's a threat that the stage is there for rainfall rates and the rainfall totals to really pile up. A lot of that will ultimately be based on convergence and any kind of upslope flow or any kind of area of low pressure that may impact the region. And we think some of that could be in play and could interact with the moisture that will be moving into the region. But what's going to happen, basically the flow is going to get stuck to our south and west all week. This dying area of upper low pressure is just basically going to sit there and weaken. But the area that's coming into the west coast of the U.S., I kind of marking over it right here, is basically going to drop down. And once we get to midweek, it'll replace that upper low and will actually probably create a little bit of a stronger area of upper low pressure that's just going to sit over the southern plains. So the southwest flow that we're going to have in place on your Monday is probably going to go for most of your work week, and there's not really a whole lot to kick it all out. So things are going to be a little bit repetitive. That's why I mentioned a second ago we see two bouts of rainfall coming up. The first coming for your Monday and Tuesday time frame. We're thinking Wednesday will be fairly nice. We'll probably have some temperatures in the 70s area wide. And then as we head into Thursday, probably have another bout of rain and maybe even a little bit of a cool air setup with an area of high pressure that might form to our north and try to wedge a little bit of cool air down the eastern slope of the Appalachians. So that's what we're on the lookout for the next 3 to 5 days. Again, talking about precipitable water values, you know, we talk a lot about this in the summertime about how if you get high precipitable water values, which is anywhere from an inch to inch and a half to potentially 2 inches, that's really an indicator of how much water is in the air and can be used when you start having convective development occur or even just general shower activity. And we're going to see some levels that, quite honestly, it's a little early in the year to see it. It looks like something you'd see more in May or June. I'm pulling up the precipitable water map right here, and any of this yellow right here, especially the broader yellow color, that's approaching precipitable water values of 2 inches. Even here along the Appalachians, you see this green shading. That is in the 1.5 inch range. So for this time of year, it's really moist air, and that's going to be moving in. And you see, and this is the flow at the surface. as we mentioned a minute ago, the flow aloft is going to be out of southwest, but the flow from the surface up to roughly 5,000 feet is going to be out of southeast. So it's going to be coming out of the Atlantic, a good moisture fetch. And of course, anybody that follows weather in our part of the country, when you start getting a southeast flow and you start uh, pushing up against the mountains, that helps promote additional rainfall. So that's one area we're going to be watching, the eastern slope of the Appalachians. And this particular time frame right here is overnight Monday night into Tuesday. There seems to be, just by looking at this map, there seems to be a little bit of a convergence area that might set up across the foothills with a southeast flow and high moisture value, and there'll even be a weak area low pressures coming out of the Tennessee Valley at this time frame. So there's some things that are in place that could promote the idea of rainfall. And really the model data is showing that pretty well. I'm going to scroll down here. We'll look at some rainfall data, and this is through that same time frame as we head into late Monday and into Monday night. I tell you, I'm going to get a better view of that here. We'll zoom in a little bit. As we head into late Monday, already, according to the computer models, most of our area is going to see anywhere from maybe a half to 3/4 of an inch of rain to potentially as much as an inch and a quarter or more rain, especially along your eastern slopes, along the South Mountain chain. And we'll keep progressing that through all the way to Tuesday morning, and it just keeps piling up. By Tuesday morning, we're thinking most areas are going to see at least an inch of rain, and some localized areas could make a run at 1.5 to 2 inches of rain. That's just with the first batch of rainfall. And of course, anytime you get a southeast flow and you get showers, and if there's any kind of convective development to go along with it, then you could potentially even put more rain down than what the model is showing. So that's something that's got our attention, and we're going to keep an eye on it. And it seems funny that we're even talking about this because our area right now is under the first stage of drought, being abnormally dry. We've been dry for the last couple months, even going back to the winter time that was fairly dry. The ground itself is dry right now, but that looks to be changing as we head into this week. And believe it or not, the fact that we may have 2 rounds of rainfall, some areas could go from being just too dry to being too wet in a fairly short amount of time. So that is something that we will keep an eye on for sure. And if we feel like there's an area in particular that's going to line up, we'll let you know and we'll pass that along to you. But area-wide, we feel pretty confident that at least through Tuesday, you're going to see around 1 inch of rain. As I said earlier, the Wednesday time frame, we feel like it'll kind of clear up a little bit. But then again, as I'm going through the storm projected totals through, say, Thursday, we got some really good totals that are popping up here, anywhere from 1.5 inches or 1.75 inches in the far southern parts of Cleveland County and eastern Lincoln County, to as much as 3 inches along the South Mountain chain, and then of course along the Black Mountain chain there in northwestern McDowell. We're talking some 4 or more inch totals, and again, that's something we're going to keep an eye on. It just overall, it seems like we're going to get into an active pattern, and the drought that we're in right now could take a pretty good hit out of it. So we're going to be keeping an eye on that. And again, if we feel like there's any areas that are really under the gun, once we get closer, we'll let you know which areas that we feel like are the biggest threat. But naturally, eastern facing slopes and areas along the South Mountain chain are probably going to be areas that might see a little bit more rain than, say, eastern Catawba or eastern Lincoln County. So that's it for now. That's just an update on what we got going on over the next few days. No watches or anything are out right now. That's a good thing. If they ever were to come out, we'll definitely keep you updated on our Facebook pages, on Twitter. Of course, check us out at burkweather.org. We'll have the main forecast on the website updated here a little bit later this evening. But all in all, be ready. After a nice weekend and some really good weather, big changes are coming up for